Eleanor, an 80-year-old woman, has always been independent and self-sufficient. She has taken care of herself all her life, from cooking, taking care of the house to maintaining social relationships. She has always felt healthy and active, not needing to depend on anyone. However, over the past year, her family has begun to notice small but clear changes in her health and attitude towards life. At first, these signs seemed unnoticeable. Sometimes she felt more tired, some familiar tasks became more difficult, but because they happened gradually, the family did not notice them early enough. That is why they did not realize that these were the first signs of gradual physical and mental deterioration. Gradually, she no longer participated in activities as before, and sometimes she felt lost, as if she was losing connection with the world around her. It wasn't until Eleanor was no longer able to perform the simple tasks of daily living that the family truly noticed the changes. But by then, it was too late to prepare for her final months. A sense of loss permeated the family. This left them feeling pain and regret for not noticing the changes earlier and being better prepared. You must have felt that way when you're sitting in the waiting room waiting for someone to come visit, and no one shows up. That's when you realize the family's attention is fading. This was the feeling Eleanor began to feel in her final months, when she no longer felt like the center of attention and care as before. The absence of regular visits, inquiries, and even emotional connection made her feel lonely and lost. This feeling not only made Eleanor sad, but also made the family more aware of the things they had missed. Her family's attention was no longer what it used to be, and now she faced her final days without adequate mental and emotional preparation. Sign 1: Significant weight loss. Eleanor began to lose weight for no apparent reason. At first, her family thought it was just a natural change due to aging. People think that as they get older, their bodies change, and that weight loss can just be a part of the aging process. However, as the condition persisted and became more obvious, they began to notice that something was wrong. The clothes she had always worn became loose, and despite her best efforts to eat well, her weight continued to drop. This was not a temporary change, but a clear sign of physical deterioration. Weight loss is not just a cosmetic problem. It is a sign that the body is having difficulty absorbing nutrients and is undergoing a gradual deterioration. This not only affects her appearance, but is also a warning that Eleanor's body no longer has enough energy and strength to maintain essential functions. The inability to absorb nutrients can be a sign of serious digestive problems or underlying conditions such as heart disease, kidney disease, or even cancer. This left the family feeling worried and confused. At first, they thought the weight loss might just be a part of aging, but as they watched her gradually lose her vitality, they began to realize that this was not normal. They were confused about what to do to improve the situation. They tried to encourage her to eat more, provide nutritious meals, and even supplement her with supplements or protein shakes to help her maintain her health. However, despite these efforts, Eleanor's weight continued to drop. At some point, the family realized that it was not her diet that was to blame, but that her body was beginning to prepare for a terminal stage. This was a sign they could no longer ignore. Not only did this weight loss make the family worried about Eleanor's health, it also raised larger questions about the changes in her body. How could they care for her better? Was this a sign of a serious illness that the family had not yet recognized? These concerns left the family feeling helpless, as they could not find a clear solution, which made them even more concerned about the progression of her condition. By being aware of this sign, they could prepare for the changes that were coming and find ways to provide comfort during this time. Sign 2: Extreme fatigue and weakness. Eleanor felt increasingly tired, and simple activities that she had done with ease now became a challenge. In the mornings, she could wake up and quickly prepare breakfast, walk around the garden to get some fresh air, or even tend to the flowers in her garden. But now, every time she woke up, she felt as if her body was heavier, her steps were no longer as steady as before. Walking around the garden, which was a favorite habit of hers, now became something far away, forcing her to stop many times to rest. Even getting out of bed became difficult. The fatigue was not simply a feeling of tiredness after a long day of work or taking care of the house, but a constant feeling of exhaustion, even when she had rested. This made the family begin to realize that this fatigue was not a normal part of aging but a sign that Eleanor's body was losing its vitality. Everyone in the family tried to convince her to rest more and not push herself too hard. However, they realized that although she could rest, her body still could not recover as before. This feeling became more evident when she could not do simple tasks, such as walking up the stairs or taking care of herself. Fatigue became an indispensable part of her daily life. It may seem convenient to do nothing, but did you know that your body starts to lose strength if you do not exercise regularly? This is the lesson Eleanor is facing. Before, she had always maintained the habit of walking and doing housework, so her body was always flexible. But when she started to reduce her physical activity and spend most of her time resting, her body began to weaken. The lack of movement led to a loss of muscle strength, a loss of circulation, and a decline in overall health. Eleanor realized that not only did her physical inactivity weaken her, but it also weakened her mentally. The loss of independence made her feel like she was no longer herself. This was not just a physical problem, but also a mental decline, making her feel trapped in a body that no longer worked as well as it used to. She began to realize that, despite getting more rest, the lack of movement was making her body weaker and making it difficult to maintain independent habits. This constant fatigue, combined with other physical problems, made Eleanor's family take a real look at her health. It was not just a sign of aging, but a warning that her body was slowly preparing for the final stages. They realized that if they did not pay more attention to staying active and taking more proactive care of their health, they might not have enough time to do meaningful things with her. The whole family decided to work with her to find gentle, health-appropriate activities to help her maintain her independence and reduce fatigue. Sign 3: Loss of concentration and emotional withdrawal. Eleanor began to forget simple things that she used to remember clearly, small details of life that she could remember easily before. Conversations, which were a joy and an important part of her life, became difficult. She often repeated the same questions in the same conversation, and seemed unable to keep up with the events around her. Things like the names of family members, or important events of the day, suddenly became blurred memories that she could not remember. This not only worried her family, but also made them feel helpless, not knowing what to do to help her regain her sanity. In addition to forgetting details of life, Eleanor began to withdraw emotionally. Before, she had always been the one to participate in family conversations. She loved to tell stories of the past, share her thoughts and feelings with her children and grandchildren. However, now, she rarely participated in conversations anymore. When they asked her about family events or simply chatted, Eleanor only responded reluctantly and without the enthusiasm she had before. In particular, she seemed to no longer participate in social activities as she used to, which made her family even more worried. Before, Eleanor was always active in family gatherings, or even conversations with friends, but now she often withdrew into her own space, no longer wanting to participate in conversations. The family felt that this change was a sign that Eleanor was going through a period of cognitive decline. These changes were not something they could easily accept, and they did not even know what to do to help her overcome this condition. It's not that they don't want to communicate, but because their health no longer allows it. This is what Eleanor's family felt deeply when witnessing her no longer participating in the life around her as before. This was not just a loss of memory but also a change in spirit, as she lost the ability to maintain a connection with the world around her. Every time the family watched her fall silent, unable to remember the names of loved ones or join in conversations, they felt a deep pain. It was an indescribable pain to see a loved one gradually lose the ability to interact and connect with those they loved. Cognitive decline was not only a gradual process but also a great loss, leaving loved ones feeling helpless. The realization that she was no longer herself, unable to join in conversations or maintain emotional connection, was a huge change in Eleanor's life. The family realized that they needed to do something to support her during this period, not only physically but also emotionally. The loneliness she experienced may have been one of the factors that caused her emotional withdrawal, and the family understood that they needed to be there, giving her attention and love so that she would feel protected and loved. Sign 4. Frequent infections and slow wound healing. Eleanor began to get infections more easily, which was not a normal sign of aging but a clear change in her health. Small wounds that had never been a problem before now became a major concern. Minor scrapes not only took a long time to heal but also began to become infected, causing her family to worry. Small wounds, such as those from bumps or gardening, now took a long time to heal. Even these small wounds could develop into long-term ulcers if not cared for properly, and this was a sign that her immune system was weakening. The body was no longer able to heal itself as it once had, and it was a clear sign that Eleanor's body was no longer strong enough to deal with simple illnesses. The reduced resistance made Eleanor susceptible to infections that she had previously been able to recover from without medical intervention. For the family, this was a worrying turning point, as they realized that her body was no longer able to protect itself as it once had. This caused them to rethink how they would care for her in the coming months. Doctors and nurses said that a weakened immune system was part of the aging process, but the family still found it difficult to accept this change, as it was a sign that her health was seriously declining. As Eleanor's health became more fragile, what the family realized was that they needed to change the focus of their care from focusing solely on medical treatment to creating a comfortable and pleasant environment for her. Sometimes, healing doesn't come from medicine, it comes from love and care. This was an important realization the family had to face as they cared for her. Rather than focusing solely on treating infections and illnesses, the family realized that they needed to create a peaceful space where Eleanor could feel loved, cared for, and safe. This could help her feel more comfortable mentally, and could even have a positive impact on her physical recovery even if medical treatment was necessary. It is not just the treatments that are important, but how the family creates a warm and safe environment where Eleanor can feel supported and loved. Measures such as creating a comfortable resting space, providing attentive care from family members, and even changing her lifestyle so that she does not feel alone, will be important steps in helping her feel secure and at ease. This will not only help her improve her mental health, but also be part of preparing her for the end of her life in a complete way, with the care and love of her family. With her immune system weakened and her body no longer able to heal itself, Eleanor's family knew that this was the time for them to be closer to her, supporting her not only physically but also emotionally, helping her live out her remaining days in peace and full of love. Sign 5. Major changes in breathing and circulation. Eleanor began to feel short of breath even with a little movement. Previously, she could easily do things like walk in the garden, climb stairs, or simply move around the house. However, now these light activities became a great challenge. She felt out of breath, and every time she had to walk a short distance, she felt a tightness in her chest and had to stop and rest. Her breathing became irregular, sometimes fast and shallow, sometimes slow and labored. These sudden shortness of breath made her feel like she no longer had the strength to do familiar activities. The family began to realize that this was not just a sign of a cold or a temporary problem, but a clear sign that Eleanor's body was preparing for its final decline. The shortness of breath was not only a reflection of the weakening of the respiratory system, but also a sign of a natural process in the body, as the organs gradually stopped functioning. It was heartbreaking to see these changes, and the family began to worry and feel helpless. They realized that Eleanor could no longer participate in simple physical activities as before. Every time she tried to move, it seemed like her body was running out of energy to maintain the movement. Sometimes, Eleanor would gasp for breath after a few steps, and she could not continue without resting for a while. This made the family even more worried, because they knew that her body was gradually losing the ability to maintain important functions. Sometimes, the change in breathing is the body's way of conserving energy, the doctor explained to the family, helping them understand that this was part of the natural process when the body no longer had enough strength to continue functioning as before. The body was gradually reducing its energy for unnecessary activities, and this was reflected in the change in breathing. Although the family may have felt worried, they also knew that this was an irreversible sign. "Don't worry too much, take the time to create a peaceful and safe space," the doctor continued to advise, emphasizing that the most important thing right now was the family's understanding and love for Eleanor. The family began to make small changes in the way they cared for her. They no longer asked her to do the physical activities she had been doing, but instead created a calm space where Eleanor could relax without feeling stressed. They prepared light, easy-to-eat meals, and allowed her to rest more. Instead of worrying about her not being able to do the things she used to do, the family realized that they needed to support her in maintaining the best quality of life possible. The most important thing now was not only to help Eleanor cope with her physical problems, but also to create a peaceful environment for her. Anxiety and stress can increase the feeling of shortness of breath and make her feel uncomfortable. When the family creates a peaceful space where she feels loved and stress-free, Eleanor feels safer and better cared for. While these changes are difficult and painful, the family understands that it is important to make her final days as pleasant and meaningful as possible, with understanding and unconditional love. Family emotions and psychological impact. Eleanor's family gradually realized that they could not change what was happening. Watching their mother gradually decline physically and mentally was an extremely painful experience. They could not change the fact that she was getting older and that her body and mind were gradually fading away with time. With each passing day, they saw her lose the abilities that she had once been able to do with ease. Stories that she had always told became vague memories. Daily activities such as walking around the house or even tending to plants in the garden became a challenge. This decline left the family feeling helpless, as there was little they could do to stop her decline. This feeling was not only painful, but also created confusion about how to help her in her remaining days. But gradually, they realized that the most important thing now was not to try to change what could not be changed, but to make her remaining months meaningful and full of love. They understood that Eleanor's final months would not be a time to fix or change what had been lost, but a time to create precious memories, to let her feel the love and care of her family. They decided that their presence, their attentive care, and their thoughtful attention would be the most meaningful gifts they could give her in her remaining months. Sharing love and care in her final months was the most important thing, Eleanor's family realized. They began to change the way they cared for her, not only through medical methods but also by creating a loving environment where she felt protected and safe. Not only does this help Eleanor feel loved, it also helps the family feel that they have done their best to make her comfortable. They no longer worry about whether she can do anything, but instead care about her feelings, creating a space for her to feel peaceful and loved in every moment. Entering this stage, the family is not only the caregiver but also the companion, creating sweet and peaceful memories. They spend time sitting with her, listening to her tell old stories, hugging her when she feels lonely, and doing everything they can to make her feel important and loved. Every act of care, every thoughtful gesture, every loving handshake helps Eleanor feel that even though her body is weak, she is still the center of love in the family. Despite the inevitable change, Eleanor's family knew that their love and presence were the most important things she needed during this time. Her final days may not be easy, but when her family devotes their time and affection to her care, they create a peaceful and meaningful environment that allows her to pass away peacefully and feel the boundless love of her loved ones. Call to action and advice. Life is always changing, and with those changes, we face inevitable challenges. When a loved one begins to show signs of physical and mental decline, it is important to be aware of these changes so that you can prepare for their final months. Signs such as sudden weight loss, constant fatigue, changes in breathing, or emotional withdrawal are not just signs of aging, but signals that the body is preparing for a final decline. If you notice these signs in your loved one, do everything you can to help them live healthier, create a peaceful and loving environment in their remaining months. It is important to not only care for them physically, but also to provide them with peace, affection, and understanding from the family, so that they still feel important and loved. Don't wait until it is too late to recognize these signs. Take action now, because every moment counts, and every day is an opportunity to make your loved one's life more meaningful. Create a loving and peaceful space where they can feel cared for by those around them. Caring for a loved one in the final months of life is not just about providing food, medicine, or medical care, but also about creating an environment filled with sharing and affection. We cannot change what has happened, but we can create a loving ending, with memories to cherish. We encourage you to share your stories of caring for a loved one during this time. Each story is a valuable lesson for all of us. Sharing your experiences can help others feel not alone in this journey, and help them learn how to care for a loved one during difficult times. Together, we can create a supportive community that helps each other navigate life's changes with strength and compassion. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment sharing your thoughts, like to show your support, and subscribe to our channel for more helpful content on how to care for your health and family. Each of your shares can be a source of encouragement for those facing similar challenges. Conclusion and summary. As the video ends, we not only look back at the signs of change in the elderly, but also realize the importance of recognizing them in time. These signs can be the first step to help families prepare for the difficult days ahead. Recognizing physical and mental changes early not only helps families understand the health status of their loved one, but also forms the basis for creating an effective care plan. As a loved one gradually enters the final months of life, the family needs to focus on creating a comfortable, loving and safe environment so that the loved one feels secure and loved, even if they are no longer able to care for themselves as before. Every act of care, every gesture of concern not only helps the loved one live their last days in peace, but also helps the family feel that they have done everything they can. Mentally preparing and caring for a loved one is the last gift we can give them. This is a priceless gift that we can give to our loved ones in the final stages of life. There is nothing more important than providing our loved ones with a sense of security, love and the presence of family during these important moments. Every moment with your loved ones is precious and worth cherishing, so take the time to create wonderful memories and let them feel the boundless love from your family. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like to support us, share your thoughts in the comments section below this video. You can also share your own story to help others in their journey of caring for a loved one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos on how to take care of your health and family. Every word you share can be a source of encouragement and help for those who are facing similar challenges. Thank you for watching the video and hope that you will find useful information to help your loved one.